Welcome back, everyone. Now, let's move on with our next panel discussion of the day with the theme of reach of e-commerce. Let me first introduce you to our moderator. He's Mr. Lavin Punjabi. He's the president and CEO of Affinity Global Inc. And for the panel, we have Mr. Kashyap Vadapalli. He's the CMO and business head, Pepperfry.com. Then we have Miss Ahana Gautam. She is the CEO and co-founder from Open Secret. Next, we have Mr. Pankaj Singh Parihar. He is the Vice President and Head Digital Marketing and Transformation from Godrej Consumer Products. And finally, we have Mr. Siddarth Menon. He is the Chief Marketing Officer of Drums Food International. Welcome, everyone. Over to you, Mr. Punjabi.
All right. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Here we are today to speak about the reach of e-commerce and how that's changed post-COVID in India. With me today, Shivani already ran the introduction. So e-commerce has played a major role in this COVID world. It has helped people, retain their livelihoods at home, continue on with routine life, so that you don't have to get out of your house to buy supplies. It's saved, I would say, this pandemic. The digital world in general, I would say, is the saving grace of this pandemic, right, today. Anyway, so with that, today on the panel, we have four very experienced individuals. Let's start with Ahana. She's the CEO of Open Secret, 9-month-old company, relatively, new to the e-commerce world in India. Then there's Siddarth, who leads Epigamia, the marketing and sales for Epigamia, 5-year-old business. And, they've had their, I would say, they've had their experiences there in e-commerce as well. Kashyap, a market, so he leads CMO of Pepperfry. He leads the a marketplace, a furniture marketplace in India, 9-year-old business. And then we have Pankaj, who leads Godrej Consumer Properties, 123-year-old business. So we've got everyone from 9 months to 123 years old businesses over here, and everyone at different stages of maturity of their digital experience. So with that, I'd love to sort of just start off, just simple open chat with everyone in the panel, saying, okay, what have been your experiences so far, guys? Hannah, let's start with you, and then move in that order. How have you seen e-commerce change for you in the last few months?
Firstly, I would say I'm super excited to be on this panel with such great folks representing great brands. So I'm Ahana Gautam, CEO and co-founder of Open Secret. Let me first begin with sharing why I started Open Secret. Well, I grew up in a really small city in Rajasthan by a working mother. I was a fat kid and I used to feel sick all the time. It was only when I was studying at Harvard Business School that I noticed how much attention do people pay about what they're eating and the role that food plays in your health and wellness. And at the same time, I was also hearing complaints about from my sister-in-law that she is facing issues finding healthy and convenient options for the family and especially for the kid. So this made me realize that why there is not a good access of healthy and nutrition food for families. Why do Indian families have to eat junk? And that was my motivation and inspiration to come back to India with a promise and with a mission so that we can enable every Indian family to eat better. So with this mission, we launched our first line of product called and then we will be launching more and more categories soon this year.
Okay, and so Hannah, for you so far, your digital journey has been mainly online, I believe, right? Because it's a relatively new brand. Everyone who starts new takes the digital course first as opposed to offline.
Yeah, I would say we generally don't call ourselves a digital first brand. I think I find it pretty egoistic. I would say that we are a very consumer first brand, and that's why we are an omni-channel brand. So we are present in multiple channels. Every channel has a very strategic role to play. However, 95% of our business comes from online channels.
Great. Siddarth, over to you.
Super happy to be here and share experiences with this group. and the people watching. So we make a product called Epigamia Greek yogurt. So that's how we started our business, and we've sort of diversified into multiple products that are pretty much in the dairy space that require chilled temperature, chilled infrastructure, right up to the store and right up to your fridge in that sense. And over the last 5 years, as we built the brand, we've sort of built the brand and our footprint predominantly in retail, to get to about 12,000 stores. And there was an e-commerce leg, and when I mean e-commerce leg, driven by the aggregator platforms like Amazon and Big Basket, that was also building along with the retail space that we were in. But I think what COVID led to was a situation where pretty much all the supply lines that we had were constrained. So be it stores being closed, be it stores being open for a smaller period of time, be it stores being open, but consumers pantry loading and therefore not enough stock available for the consumers coming in, or for that matter, be it stores now being a place where the shopping experience is no longer what it used to be, right? And therefore, we saw it as an opportunity to say, you know what, consumers are demanding our product. We're not able to supply it through the traditional supply lines, so let's start our own D2C platform. And that's how we started off. Sometime our own online sort of footprint started as early as about April. And while that was tactical to start off with, what we're seeing is the overarching understanding of consumer now being more comfortable buying even something as habituated as groceries online. And therefore, we're seeing it as a very strategic play going forward. We're seeing aggregator e-commerce also sort of pick up steam, but also our D2C platform being a platform that is good from Epigami. And therefore, the last 6 months has sort of overturned some aspect of us being available in retail, but also now being a multi-platform player with e-commerce as well.
Got it. So your journey has been more like started with offline sales, then became through platforms, and now D2C. That's been sort of your journey so far. Got it. Great. Kashyap, your journey with e-commerce.
Sure. Just speaking from the perspective of how customers could interact with us, when we started initially, we were present purely online, so online marketplace for furniture, decor, and furnishing brands. Like Lavin said some time back, it was about 9 years ago. After the first 4 years, we started experimenting with setting up experience centers. The intent was more about providing customers with a place that they could interact with experts, get inspiration, look at, actually experience great design, etc. We started it off like that. That was the reason, because we always thought we'd be the customers would primarily interact with us online and on our app, and that's how and that's how customers will interact with us. Even when we look to the future, we were thinking of introducing technologies. We already have a small AR product which we are in the process of improving. We would have gone down the VR route as a method of reaching out to customers. So we opened up a physical space purely as an experience center. But we realized that and we opened it up in 2-3 of the larger cities, and we realized that being a brand that would measure everything, we were measuring walk-ins, and then we were tying it in with looking at whether the consumers were converting. And we realized that while the intent was not to sell, the initial staffing in all of our studios, the first 3-4 studios, were interior designers and architects, were not really salespeople. We realized that they were influencing a ton of sales. And once that thing happened, then we started looking at it as a channel that could influence sales. And we expanded to about 70 odd studios or experience centers. And they started contributing. So towards the end of last year, early this year, pre-COVID, they were contributing between 30-35% of our sales. So if we just looked at the walk-ins, put some formula on it, and attributed it to that particular channel. So initially, for the first 4-5 years, 100% on the app and online only. The last 3-4 years slowly moved from 0% to 35% in an offline kind of an environment. But COVID has changed it significantly for us. That contribution has actually kind of halved almost. So we've gone back from 35 to about 15 to 17% over the last 2 months. primarily because of obviously the restrictions in the physical space. A lot of the malls were shut and so on. And like Siddarth mentioned, there were restrictions around opening hours and so on and so forth. So that's kind of been our e-commerce journey, and e-commerce offline and back to like e-commerce.
Got it. And Pankaj, over to you. So you have the largest portfolio of products here, from Goodnight to hair care, expert and professional hair care, to Synthol soap, to Protect hand wash, easy liquid detergent, like so many different FMCG products. What has been? I'm assuming your journey has been mainly offline. 123-year-old companies, of course, you've been selling. And how's your? I think everyone would be very curious to know, for a brand like yours, how has your digital journey been so far?
So let me start with what COVID has done in general and how we are seeing it for us also. I think clearly we can safely say that it has advanced the digital commerce journey for the industry by almost 5-7 years. What we were hoping and expecting by 2025 or 2027, one could seriously see that happening now, purely from the transaction points of view. For us, if you look at it, we started our e-commerce journey almost 4 years back, which was, trying to be there on marketplaces and stuff. And, it started gradually and slowly, but it has really taken off for us, both on e-commerce, and we are seeing, year on year, we are seeing good 200-300% jump on the transaction values for various portfolios. Of course, portfolio mix is a very different thing, and there are certain there are certain lines which are not probably made for digital commerce and e-commerce, but there are certain lines which are absolutely making brilliant sense for us in that sense. A year back, we actually got into the journey of getting into our own direct-to-consumer websites and engines. We have close to, out of our 12 portfolio line, we have 4 portfolio which are there on D2C. It's a mixed bag for us, to be very honest. A couple of lines are doing phenomenally well, and then there are a couple of lines which we are still trying to figure out whether they make sense for direct to consumer or not. So it's a great journey. We are learning a lot. Being a multi-billion-dollar company and such a large portfolio, we have product ranges from absolutely mass to absolutely premium. It's a mix of learning for us, and we will continue to invest behind this. And we clearly see it has massive potential going forward, and we'll continue to go behind this line for years to come.
I think, so we've got a panel over here which has, a marketplace, a brand, and then, 3 brands, and actually all 4 of you guys are brands. But what I was trying to say is basically the focus on like a D2C versus the e-commerce platforms. How do you guys weigh in the pros or cons of each of them? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Siddarth, maybe if you want to take it a shot.
No, so I think for us, while we launched D2C purely tactically, like I told you guys, it's the end of the day, consumer wanted the product, existing supply chains were not in place, but we had to create the supply chain, and we had feet on street to actually deliver to the consumer. So we don't use a third-party delivery agent. We have our own team that actually is delivering. So it just rendered itself as a great platform. But I think strategically, we're seeing the platform play a role, right? And I think I mentioned this in an earlier conversation that the platform has to solve some problem for the consumer. And for us, we see the D2C platform as a platform that solves 2 problems for the consumer. For the core yogurt, smoothies, spreads, and wants it in quick time, we are the platform for them, because in all likelihood, in most of the platforms, being retail, Amazon, there'll be some SKU that's always missing. Whereas our depots are aggregated stores, and therefore they'll be able to find the product. The second reason why I would use our platform is, yes, they are gravitating and probably will buy from their existing platform, be it a neighborhood store or be it Amazon. But you know what? You don't get spreads there, which is a very unique product that we don't distribute everywhere, and they'll come onto our platform to buy. So it sort of does that. So for us, it plays a very strategic role for our core consumers. It also plays a strategic role in the way we access new consumers as well. So when you have a new product, by the time you advertise the product and you distribute, there are a lot of inefficiencies. And when we launch a new product completely, you're able to build the awareness to trial at a much faster pace because you're supplying directly to them. We just launched our plant-based range products. And if we had done it the old way, which is, let's distribute it first and then let's advertise, there would have been inefficiencies. There would have been some people who knew about it but could not find it and so on and so forth. What we did is before even launching it, we released an ad saying, guys, we're launching in a week. So if you want to order now. And plant-based being a high friction product, we had 1,000 orders in like an hour, right? So it delivers a lot of things for you. And now what's happening is the other platforms, which is retail, are demanding plant-based products because we've created that demand. So we've established that demand. So it does play a very strategic role, but we're cognizant that it's only one of the platforms you have to invest in. There are other platforms like e-commerce and retail, which deliver different reasons for consumers to go buy for that.
Got it. Interesting. That's very cool. Ahana, what about you?
Yeah, I would say like both D2C and e-commerce, if I club it as online channel, they, as Siddarth was mentioning, plays a very, very strategic role. And I would say there are clearly three values which I can highlight. So first is pan-India availability. We are a new age brand, a brand like us, which is only 9 months old. Online opens up the entire country for us. And if you say that, e-commerce is for metro cities, I think that's a myth.
Interesting.
If I have to just give you a data point, last month, 60% of our sales came from non-metro cities. So it's a very critical channel which helps us that we are becoming more and more available to families all across the country. So that is number one. Number two, I would say the most important thing for a new brand is to hear back directly from the consumer, right? That feedback loop is so critical. And the proximity that you have because of the D2C channel, it's really, really important. And when we launch a D2C channel, the most obvious choice is, okay, you have a website or you have an app, right? We didn't do that. We started with WhatsApp because we said, let's not try and replicate the consumer journey. Let's reimagine the consumer journey online. So if you can think a mother going to a kirana store and say, okay, please, can you give me a biscuit? Now they're having a direct dialogue with us and they say, why should we pick your cookie? And then we say that, our cookie doesn't have any maida, our cookie has 40 to 50% nuts. So this kind of feedback loop, firstly, like communication of message. And the second thing, when the consumer has tried the product, that also changes your innovation pipeline. So just to give another example, we launched this product, which is a box of 2 cookies. We said that's perfect. A kid can have, 2 cookies for a day. And then the consumer came back to us and said that, during COVID, in the lockdown, the entire family is sitting in an evening, someone is having chai, someone is having milk, and they want a bigger box with more cookies. So now in next week, we are launching a box of 6 cookies so that the entire family can enjoy, and moving from just a kid occasion to the entire family moment occasion. That's number 2. That feedback loop, the proximity to with the consumer. And the third thing I would say, which is extremely critical for us, very relevant for a new age brand like us, is having a lean organization and thinking about ROI. So I was just discussing this with my team that we were calculating revenue per employee and we were comparing that with you can say an incumbent biscuit brand. And for us, it's 10x. So we don't have deep pockets to deploy a this organization to cater to the entire country, but with just 1 or 2 digital resources, we can generate a lot of revenue. So I would say because of three reasons, D2C is extremely critical, and especially the entire online channel is extremely critical for us.
Got it. That's very interesting. So it's basically giving you a feedback of what your new product should be, or giving, for in the case of Siddarth, getting feedback from consumers on, are they okay with plant-based products? So, I think traditionally such funds which were taken by, the product leads or, the business leads are now sort of being verified instantly through the digital channel. That's great. It's helping in formulating strategy of business and sort of, deciding what journey to take ahead. Pankaj, your thoughts on this?
Sure. So we started our journey, a year back on this piece, which is direct to consumer. And the reason for us was to, one, of course, we wanted to understand our consumer more. If you look at it, FMCG companies do not have direct access to consumers. Yeah, I mean, we deal with customers in that sense.
Yeah.
So we wanted to understand, of course, what our consumers think, what do they want, and that's how, that was one of the reasons. The other reason was, when you are in, e-commerce or digital commerce space, you are not able to drive the brand experience which you have been, known for all this while. So the other aspect was that, we wanted to have our own platform where actually we can give a beautiful brand experience to our consumers, which was possibly not there at marketplaces. Yeah, and of course, basis that these two things gave us really great understanding in terms of what consumers want. So, just to give you an example, two examples. When we launched our male grooming direct-to-consumer website from Synthol brand, we had multiple best-selling products. But one thing which came out very strongly was that most of the consumers were searching about charcoal soap, which we did not have in our portfolio. Yeah, and we actually worked it around, turned it around, and within a few weeks, or let's say 6 weeks, we launched this only on our direct-to-consumer platform, and it automatically became the best-selling item on our platform. So that's the kind of understanding one was getting. The other piece is, traditionally, you have target groups defined for your brands, okay, and that's how you want to go ahead and do your targeting and stuff. But for one of our brands, we were doing only traditional way of, the definition of my audience is being defined at a brand level. Okay, and that's what I was doing on direct to consumer as well, D2C as well. And we realized that on D2C, it was absolutely opposite of it. So, I was targeting male 25 to 44. We would have never thought in our dreams also that 50% of my conversion-led audience would be from female 25 to 44. That gave us really great understanding of why are we not opening it up for the largest set of audience, and that understanding and insight we actually put it on marketplaces as well, and it really opened up a new way of looking at a new business channel in that sense. Otherwise, we would have only been, doing the traditional targeting. So, that's the kind of, learnings which one is getting, and hopefully we'll continue to do that.
Great. Kashyap, you want to share some thoughts?
Sure. So, given that we launched primarily as an online, brand, we were looking to solve a set of problems, in the furniture space. One of the things was that we felt that the existing solutions that the Indian customers, existing options that Indian customers had, were not optimal. Okay, there was the whole carpenter bit where carpenters would come into the houses and make stuff, or there were the local markets where there was not really any brand. You would go to a local market, show a magazine to one of them, and they would say, okay, we could get something like this made for you, or they would have a printed catalog and you would look at it from that. Or if you had stores, the stores were really high end and they charged a premium, and we felt that there was 2-3 problems that we could solve. Number one was that we scanned the market and we realized that India has a very rich heritage of woodworking, and uh, and across different centers, across Rajasthan, Western UP, Jodhpur, Ratangad, all of these places, very rich heritage of woodworking. And most of the stuff, if you look at the period, over the last 15 years, it was all being exported. 90% of it was getting exported. Hardly anything was coming into, the Indian cities. So we realized that if you create a platform where you can connect all these small manufacturers who were actually subcontractors for exporters, you could actually work with them and bring their supply online, and that's the way to reach the rest of the country, reach all the demand centers. If you wanted to do it in the traditional way, in terms of opening up showrooms and do it right from day one, I think the economics wouldn't have worked out. Typically, rentals in India are anyway highly inflated. Globally, the rental to revenue ratio of large showrooms is anywhere between 5 to 8%, and in India that number is almost double. It's like 13 to 19%. You start with a handicap. Again, there is no for a product like us, which is, a family shop together for our category. So you need very good parking lot so that, people could come and browse, etc. So I think we were kind of forced to go down because of the problem that we were looking to solve. We were looking to connect a supply that was initially not available to customers in India. We wanted to bring all the rich supply, which basically meant a large unlimited catalog. Okay, and this is a category which is design led. So on a design led category, you need a really large catalog, and that has to be e-commerce. You can't fit it in physical space. There are rental related issues in terms of how you can really run showrooms. So all of those problems kind of actually, meant that we started digital first. Once we did that, obviously there are a ton of benefits that all the panelists have alluded to. There is a ton of data about consumer usage. They leave their digital footprint behind in terms of their searches and their browsing history. They can talk to us, give us direct feedback in terms of our services, how we can improve it. So there is that closeness to the customer is much higher, both in terms of data and interaction, and it helps to constantly refine your product, launch new services, and and therefore be more relevant to the consumer that you're targeting. So that's really what has driven our.
Got it. So all of you guys have some sort of play with direct to consumer. So that's giving you a lot of insider information. Now let's kind of switch focus to the marketing and advertising side of it, which is so we understood the business, each of your core businesses. Now traditionally in the marketing world, TV has always played an important role, and India has always been a TV first market, digitally growing. How are you guys looking at TV and print versus basically online versus offline in terms of not a selling point, but more from an advertising and a marketing standpoint? I'd love to hear your thoughts. I mean, because a lot of people here on this panel, and in this at the event, are also around advertising, marketing. So what channels are you employing digitally or offline? Is there any specific offline medium that's reduced drastically and has suddenly seen an uptick in online? I'd love to hear your thoughts on online versus offline advertising as such. So maybe Kashyap, let's start with you.
Sure. So, when we set out to build our brand, our budgets were kind of split. Half of it was the traditional channels. We never did print, but we did a lot of television, radio, and outdoor. And 50% was digital. Digital was purely performance, and all the brand building was left to the traditional channels. So we had looking back, I feel it was kind of a crude, separation, saying build the brand on traditional media and use digital only for performance. But let's say if I look back at 14, maybe that's what we were doing. Over a period of time, I just felt that the efficacy of some of the mass media channels kind of started dropping. It's fantastic when the brand is moving from 10 crores a month to 50 crores a month. But if you're trying to go from 50 to 100, what happens is that you need to really multiply. There is a certain threshold that you hit. After that, you need to really multiply your investments, and I think the ROI doesn't really justify it. So I think I think these are step jumps. They're not linear the way I'm saying in terms of how much you invest in a mass media channel and what returns you get out of it, and whatever methodology you kind of build or devise to measure the impact. And I always wanted to measure the impact in terms of sales. I did not want to leave it at top of mind and the traditional brand metrics. So there was a point in time after 3-4 years of doing this where I felt that there was a need to kind of move on to the newer channels, where again there is even if you're doing brand campaigns on digital channels, there is that much more attribution. You can at least attribute it back to traffic. You can do various kind of lift tests that will tell you, will give you data very, very quickly. So I think just the data orientation kind of forced us. The moment we started questioning the efficacy of the traditional channels, forced us down digital. So over the last 2 years, I think I won't say just in the last 2 years, it was changing over a period of time, but over the last 2 years, we are now almost 100% digital only in terms of, whatever be the marketing task, whether it is refreshing the brand, whether it is launching a new collection, or whether it's just driving that last click to conversion kind of an activity. All of it is now digital total.
So the corona didn't actually impact your marketing allocation. It was already on the course of digital 100%, and you would just continue to grow on that.
Yes, absolutely.
Pankaj, what about you?
I just want to take a step back and talk about some numbers. So pre-COVID, we had 150 million digital commerce user, out of which 50 odd million, 45 to 50 odd million were doing shopping on CPG or FMCG categories. Okay. Now, if you look at it, the numbers which we have, internet user base, which is 500 to 550 million, you are talking about a funnel. I mean, if I'm as a brand owner, as a digital owner, I'm only looking at bottom of the funnel. That's not the right approach, at least in my mind. Okay,
sure.
What about the funnel where you have 550 million users on digital, but you're still focusing on 50 million transacting users, which is 10% of the overall digital audience.
Sure.
So in my mind, you've got to have the entire funnel covered, whether it is awareness, consideration, and of course the final one. Hence, for me and as a company, we are very clear about it. While performance is very, very critical and important, every penny is accounted for, but one cannot just look at only bottom of the funnel and forget about the 400 odd million users which are also there, which one needs to actually influence and persuade. So that's one way, we are very clear about it. And sure. Also, it's not about TV versus digital. I think they are complementary medium. Okay, one cannot, and especially in our category and the kind of brands which we own, we need to, and we do want to present on television. That said, last 3 years we are seeing, again, the growth in digital investments are in the range of 100% over the last 3 years. Okay, so the growth will keep on happening, but television will still play the lead medium for the kind of brands which we own, which are mass nature. We sell soaps, we sell mosquito repellents. Okay,
sure.
So I'll continue to do that, but digital is of course growing at a much faster pace than one would imagine.
But tell me this, Pankaj, in the last 3 months or 4 months, have you seen any shift in your marketing allocation? Like, I think everyone over here would be very curious to understand, which is like, how is in a brand like yours, which deals with mass market, how mass market brands dealt with the corona impact, right? Which is from a marketing media mix.
So, of course, and you're right. Overall, if you look at it, April, May, those 2 months were very, very difficult, and we did not do much on overall marketing, and rightly so, it didn't make sense. But we launched 48 SKUs in last 3 months. Okay, and primarily into hygiene category. And if you look at it, 50% of that launch, 50% or more than 50% of the investments were on digital. Okay. In a regular scenario, if I was launching a product in a FMCG world and people would appreciate it, it'll take 18 months of NPD and then CUTs and consumer research and all of that. All of that was truncated in 6 weeks, and then we launched it, and we launched it on digital, and we are seeing massive uptake on, and because it is such a category, you're talking about hygiene. But we could have gone and taken the route of plastering it on television. We decided that we'll completely initially, and it is still more than lion share is on digital. So that's the kind of in a particular category we have seen that. But otherwise also overall the mix has changed. Post-COVID, the mix has completely changed between traditional and non-traditional way of looking at marketing and media.
Got it. All right, we have about just 5 minutes left. So Siddarth and Ahana, I'll let you guys take a quick crack at this question, which is how are you guys seeing a switch in marketing dollars or marketing rupees from online, offline? Any kind of insights you'd like to share?
Sure. I think what I would say that for us is very simple. Pankaj also mentioned this. So the question about digital marketing is not because of COVID. I think this is thanks to Geo, right? There's a pre-Geo world and there's a post-Geo world. We have 400 million active internet users. So that's the reason why digital marketing became the topic.
Yeah.
However, what was happening that the 2/3 of the consumer journey, that people were getting influenced digitally, but maybe they were buying offline. That is something which was happening. It was very difficult to measure ROI because of this offline online thing happening. But now COVID has done, post-COVID, that some of the purchase has fundamentally moved to online, and it will continue to stay online across categories.
Yeah.
The physical availability part of the business will be enabled because of that. So mental availability was solved by Geo, and I think post-COVID, online will also solve for physical availability for brands like, and it will be easy for us to measure the ROI as well.
Got it. Siddarth, for you?
I have a very long answer, but it's short. I think it all depends on reach. If you have the reach requirement that something like Godrej does, then yes, please go on TV. If you have the reach requirement that something that we had 5 years back, which is that one store in the 500 consumer store, then I'm only going to, my media mix is only going to be in that store, nowhere else, right? So I think that's number two. I'm a firm believer in full funnel metrics and not being slave to attribution. I think funnel metrics play a big role in the perception of the brand and finally what you want the consumer to believe. And I think finally it all boils down to if they've added to cart and they've not bought, there is a friction. And the friction has to be solved by a bigger story, which needs you to think of media very differently. And number three, I think we should move away from media mix to thinking about events, which is your impact event, which is your hygiene event, and which is your conversion event. And when you think of impact events, you say, okay, fine, TV can be my impact medium. Everything else can be my hygiene and conversion. So just a few thoughts.
Okay, great. So I'll just quickly take some questions. There are a few questions from different people. Let me just take one question. How do consumers discover new products if there is no retail availability and only available online? So I think the question is more about discovery of products, right? Today, when we walk into a supermarket, shopping store, the discovery was happening while you're walking down the aisle. Question is, how do those same consumers? We're not talking about the digital natives, but I think more so those our parents, our moms, our pops, our aunts, uncles. How are they discovering new products in a pandemic state? How are you guys looking at solving those? Anything that you guys are doing specifically? Are you guys doing maybe some sort of email marketing? Or is it like, sending promos, flyers? Is it, again, some of those are tough in the pandemic world, but so it's a question that someone's asked, which is like, is there a way to address that?
No, so I think, my answer so for us, touch and feel has always been super important. If people don't taste the food product, they don't necessarily know whether they want to buy it, no matter how good the brand is and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So, we used to believe in sampling. I had the easiest job in the world. I was spending all my money on just getting people to taste the product. I was thinking about what Greek yogurt is and how much protein you need to have. The simple thing is get people to taste the product and it converts them.
Yeah.
Now in the COVID world, 3 months nobody really went to the store, right? So at the end of the day, when I was going to launch my new product, I lost my playbook. I had these 300 people on the store waiting for me and saying, "Okay, give us the new product. I'm going to taste it to 1 lakh people," and my playbook was thrown out of the door. I'm like, okay, now how do I get people to get this product? So yes, it is a challenge. Do I have an answer? No. I think what you need to play better at digital is if you understand your consumer a little better, you understand the friction, and you then give the little nudge to drive them to purchase. That is it. So one of the things that we work on digital is building new newsiness, because digital works that way. People used to pre-ordering everything on digital, right? And therefore that's why we said, let them pre-order their plant-based. Plant-based is the product you don't get. As soon as you put a pre-order there, you suddenly build a little bit of intrigue, urgency, and give them a little 20% off for the trial. What that did is it generated a whole bunch of orders for us. And once you get that data, then you start building that data going forward. So you get your early consumer and then you sort of bring in virality to them and start building consumer bases. That's one way. Yeah. Not proof yet. It worked for us so far, but I'm hoping to replicate that playbook.
Still discovering and creating that playbook. Interesting. Kashyap and Pankaj, for you guys?
That's a tough question, and like I said, I don't have the answer also. But if you look at it, we think the top 30 million households are our target market actually, and which is traditional. I mean, it loosely fits with the number of credit cards in the country, loosely fits with the number of SECA households in the country. And I think all of them are digital. Even people above the age of 45, 50 are digital. I mean, they're watching YouTube. Let's say they're not actively doing research. Let's say their shopping journey is not starting online, but they're watching YouTube. They're probably on Facebook, keeping up with family. So I think there is an opportunity to still reach, your relevant TG. It doesn't necessarily have to be, in a offline scenario.
Got it. Pankaj, how are you tackling this? Discovery of your.
I think it's pretty straight for me, and we're talking about something kind of mass product. I have a defined target audience. Okay, I mean, even if I take one platform, which is, let's say, Facebook, I mean, it has 350 million users and cohorts are defined. The kind of targeting which is possible on social platforms is immense. I mean, I can do multiple layer of cuts. I mean, it's not that difficult for me to ensure that discovery is happening for my brand. So if you know your target audience, I mean, there are platforms, and I can tell you, basis my experience, social as a platform has given amazing returns on D2C and e-commerce. Like, social commerce is doing phenomenally well for us, at least, and that's what I keep hearing from my peers also. That's one of the most effective platform which one could use.
Got it. Ahana, for you?
I think most of you have covered a majority of the points. I would just say the customer acquisition strategy should be very different when you think about Amazon, when you think about Big Basket, when you think about D2C, because you need to understand the consumer journey. And as you influence, when you enter a shop, there is a wobbler. Can you have a similar visibility across when you are going on these channels? The only other thing I would say is the power of organic reach, right? The word of mouth. In organic, there is a playbook, you could use it. Just to give an example, 80% of our orders on Amazon last month were organic. So it's important for a new age brand like us to think about word of mouth. How can a mother talk to another mother about the brand? And that will also drive a lot of discoverability for the product.
Interesting. All right. I think with that, we're done. We've wrapped up the time, run out of time. But no, I think this was a great session. I think all panelists from all different walks of life, different journeys so far, different maturity levels. Great learnings. I hope the audience had something interesting to learn. And thank you, IMAI, for setting this up. Over to you, Shivani.
Thank you, Mr. Punjabi. We do have a lot of questions, but we are short on time, so we can share those questions offline with you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for your valuable time and for this amazing session. I would like to take this opportunity to thank our silver partner, TeleSign, our ShareChat, our creative partner, Blink, our knowledge partner, Nielsen. We'll take a small break and we'll be back for another